Hi there, good afternoon. This is Darrell with SNAP, Spay Neuter Action Project of sunny San Diego. It's a beautiful day here today, and thank you all for joining. It's been just fascinating so far, and I'm really excited to be part of this. So thanks everyone. So I'm here specifically to talk about a mobile clinic. I saw on the poll there was only 10% out here who are involved with a mobile clinic. So I'm hoping that some of you who may not be involved with one are considering one if it's right for you. So, sorry, I'm having trouble moving to my next screen. So the Neuter scooter, that's what we are. SNAP is only mobile. So all we do is run a mobile clinic. We do not have a stationary clinic. And this works for us. We have these incredible programs that we run, and all of these programs are out of our mobile clinic. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the programs, just so you can see what we can do on wheels. So earlier before lunch, Ruth spoke a lot about demographics and population. And so one of our main programs is the Critical Communities Program. This is where we bring the Neuter scooter directly into the center of very specific neighborhoods. These are neighborhoods that have high intake of strays that aren't claimed. We work with the local municipal shelters and find out those zip codes and go directly into those neighborhoods through the Critical Communities Program. One of our other programs called Tribal SNAP, Ruth was talking about rural areas where there may not be such a high population. Is it worth setting up a clinic there on a regular basis? Maybe not, but this is where SNAP is ideal. We bring our Neuter scooter directly up to the reservations. There's 18 Native American reservations in San Diego County. All of them are about 1.5 to 2 hours outside of any of the center of San Diego. So being on wheels is fabulous because we can get out to these outer areas, bringing the Neuter scooter, bringing free spay neuter to places that never had spay neuter available to them before. Our Project Homeless Connect program, this is this works with the Critical Communities Program because we tend to park our mobile unit in neighborhoods that may have a high number of homeless camps or parking lots where there's a lot of homeless living in their vehicles with their pets. And we're part of a countywide effort where we are spaying and neutering for free the pets belonging to homeless individuals. Marion's Mission, this is one of our other programs where we offer a flat $25 fee to seniors 65 and over on a fixed income who now have a new member of their family. We want to make sure that that pet of theirs is spayed or neutered. One of my favorite programs is the MIL-SNAP program. San Diego is also known as Fighter Town, USA. We have Camp Pendleton Marine Base. We have MCAS, the Miramar Air, and we also have Coronado Navy right here in San Diego County. So the MIL-SNAP program, we offer free spay neuter to E1 through E6. That's your active military members. Those are the men and women who will most likely be deployed during their duty. So in conjunction with Dogs on Deployment, SNAP provides free spay neuter to E1 through E6 in the way of pet chits, which are passes so that they can get their pets fixed for free. That way we can guarantee if those dogs, cats, or rabbits need to go into foster care while the owners are on deployment, we know that they're not reproducing. Shanty's House, Pet Education, Community Outreach, all three of these programs are through our mobile clinic. We can bring these into schools, into local community street fairs or events, and we can talk about the importance of pet care and spay neuter, and then in turn, we can provide the service. So you need to decide, is mobile the way to go for you? So you can see we've decided quite a few times that mobile is the right way for us. So for Snap and the Neuter scooter, we have everything that we need right inside the Neuter scooter. We can go wherever we need to go. We don't have overhead. We don't have mortgages or leases or property taxes or those high utility bills that are known here in California. We're also this moving billboard. We can recognize our sponsors. We have our donation QR codes. We have information on how to contact us. We have access to our social media. Everywhere we go, we see a rise in our phone calls that day because of the attention that we bring everywhere we go. It all sounds great, but you also need to think about some of the things that Leah and Audrey all discussed earlier today. You need to have that veterinary premise license. So you need to have a vet that's willing to receive your medication. Sorry about the dogs barking. Cats meowing, dogs barking. You do need an address for those deliveries, for taxes, for all other types of information involving your 501c3 and business. Because you are a business and you are traveling to all these different locations, you need to have a license in every city and town that you visit. And wherever you go, you absolutely need approval to park there. The worst thing would be to set up and start surgery and then someone come out and ask you to move out of the parking lot. You have to make sure those areas are very flat and safe, easy to access for your staff, easy to access for the clients, and safe for the pets. Now remember, these units need a lot of maintenance. You know, your car needs to have the oil checked. You know, this also needs all that kind of maintenance, but also you have a generator, you have tanks, you have AC units, and that's along with all the other equipment inside. So you have to think about different places that you're going to go. Like I said earlier, we do work with our local animal control agencies, and we decide to park in those areas where stray dogs and cats are not claimed, where there's stray and feral cat communities, where there's a high number of animal cruelty cases reported, a high number of dog bite reports. And we also travel to those hard to reach rural communities, like the tribal reservations that I talked about. Those neighborhoods with the high number of strays that are not claimed, you know, you ask yourself why. Well, we found that there's definitely language barriers that may prevent them from looking for their lost pet. Maybe there's transportation issues to get to the local municipal shelters. There may be a fear of leaving their community. There may be money, also lack of education. So bringing a mobile unit directly into those neighborhoods saves a lot of pet owners these types of stresses that may prevent them from going to find services elsewhere outside of their community. So if you have made the decision to go mobile, there's a lot of things to consider. There's different sizes. Do you need a special license to drive this unit? Do you want to do high volume, or do you want to just do one-on-one care? Do you want to do just cats, or do you want to fix dogs and cats, or maybe even rabbits? Here on the Neuter scooter, we fix dogs, cats, and rabbits. The nice thing is we have mostly sunny weather. It does rain once in a while, but for us, being mobile is very easy because of the weather. Landscape is also something to consider. Going up to the tribal reservations, reaching those high hills and mountainous ranges, you have to be able to get there. I was asked to talk about designing the inside of the Neuter scooter because I've had experience doing this a number of times. Our newest unit, the Neuter scooter, it was quite a challenge to design this, because when you're buying something brand new, let me go back and say our other units were not brand new, they were used, so they came the way they came. But this particular new unit, we designed custom from the ground up. There are a lot of different companies that provide veterinary units, and it's a template. They have what they sell the most of, and they are wonderful. But with the other 2 units that we have worked on, both myself and the staff have learned that there's little things that you wish it might be here or you wish it might be there. So we had the opportunity to design this from the ground up. So we took the template that the company provided and we made some changes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the changes we made. And like some of the other presenters earlier today, the things you want to consider is your team. You want to think about the speed that they have. You want to think about the space that they have. They need to be comfortable. They need to be considerate of our current situation of COVID. Oops. Sorry about that. So if you're looking inside our Neuter scooter, we designed it with 26 stainless steel kennels. We know that we have dogs and cats and rabbits, so we have various sizes. We wanted to maximize the amount of animals that we could do, knowing that our spay-neuter team has the ability to spay and neuter 30 animals each day in a normal 8-hour working day. So we designed it with 26 kennels, and then all your other important equipment that you need to have in a spay-neuter unit, for example, your autoclave, your area to prepare your instruments, the registered veterinary technician and vet assistant area where they prep the animals, and of course, surgery. California tends to be a state that has a lot more laws than other states. So California state licensed veterinarians are all that can work inside the Neuter scooter. Also California state registered veterinary technicians. So here's the fun part. These are some details that we considered designing our Neuter scooter, and some things that you may consider if you get the opportunity to design your own as well. So the state of California also has a law that you cannot have shelves in surgery. Earlier, I know, Leah, I think you had mentioned that your vets love the shelf that you put in your custom surgery room. So our vets also love to have shelves, but because we can't, what we did is we custom designed these folding shelves. So we have these folding shelves into our surgery unit. We have 7 veterinarians that work in the Neuter scooter, so we're also designing this small surgery room to accommodate the needs of 7 different veterinarians. That's 7 vets on different days, I might add, not at the same time. So one of our vets loves to put her cell phone here. Another one of our vets loves to stack all his packs here. One of our vets loves to have the mobile unit. We also have anesthetic machines designed and installed on either side for our left-handed and our right-handed veterinarians. The template designs the surgery table going in this direction, which would make sense because then you would only need 1 anesthetic machine on the wall and they could stand on either side. But I think one of the other presenters talked about how their surgeons love to have the eye contact, and that is the same in a mobile unit. Our veterinarians prefer to stand on this end of the surgery table, so they're able to look out, across, through, and down the entire unit to see what the staff is doing, preparing, getting ready for him or her. So it was worth it for us to raise the extra money to install the additional machine so we could accommodate the left and right-handed surgeons on either side. We also added additional storage. Being mobile, of course, I said we're so happy to have everything with us. In order to have everything with us, we need to store that somewhere while we're driving. So having locking cabinets is key to that. The template also prepared the prep area with, it's really funny, it had the microwave oven right above the wet table. And they also had the refrigerator. Sorry about that, dogs. Right here under the sink. Oop. Now, when the kennel assistant is working, you want to make it very efficient for them to be able to reach and grab all that they need. So it made sense for Snap to move the autoclave over, give him or her some more space here to prepare the instruments, and also move the microwave and the refrigerator over so he or she can have access to all her supplies. On the RVT station, although in the morning during check-in, she's going to have lots of her syringes here, she didn't need nearly as much room as the kennel assistant, so we were able to take away some of that space by sliding the autoclave over. Looking down the Neuter scooter, you can see our stainless steel kennels. The template had these kennels up on a toe kick, which meant these were going to be raised about 3 inches up off the floor. 3 inches doesn't sound like much, but when you think about this industry and the majority of the staff that works in veterinary medical are women, and the average height of a female in the United States is 5'4". These high kennels here, which are smaller, which means they're going to be filled with cats, means that these the staff needs to be able to reach into these. So we designed this by removing the toe kick and bringing the kennels directly down to the floor. This has made it much easier for the bigger dogs coming in and out of their kennels as well. The split doors on the kennels is also a must. When one door opens, the animal can go into the kennel very easily after its exam, and the second split door can open for the animal to exit. It makes it much easier on the animal and on the staff. Here's some other parts to consider. When you walk into the Neuter scooter, we designed this so the template had a seat here and a little table, which was very nice, but that would get in the way of us doing our check-in in the morning. So we removed those seats and we added some more storage, and we also added some additional shelving. This gives the staff a place to put all their personal items and, of course, more storage here. Some other things that we added is right when you walk in the Neuter scooter to the right, we added this stainless steel storage area. This is where we can put our 3 feral cats of the day. So we can fit the 3 traps here very comfortably and safely, so they're out of the way. They can be in a nice warm or cool environment, depending on the weather outside. We have heat and AC, as you would imagine. There also is a place where we could place our scale when weighing animals. This just slides right out. The template also came with the central vacuum system built right here in this area. It would have been under the bench. Now, if you look across the vacuum area, this is what's going to be across from that. So you have some big dogs and some cats. So every time the central vac would go on, it would make a very large rumble, and that would then scare, the dogs or cats. So what we did is we actually asked them to install the vacuum on the outside of the unit, and we ran the hose up through it. So here at the wet table, the prep area, the vacuum is coming up through the wall. And this way, the loud rumbling sound that the shop vac makes when it turns on in the central vac system is not frightening any of the animals. Now, all these changes cost money, so we were thinking of ways to raise the money to make all these adjustments to make this the perfect environment for a high-volume spay-neuter clinic on wheels. So, of course, fundraising through private donations and major donations, but we're being mobile and being that mobile billboard that I told you about, we have the opportunity to advertise and raise money through local companies. We also have donors who get to very proudly put pictures of their pets on the Neuter scooter. We also have the opportunities for people to sponsor the kennels. And we also have sponsorship of the surgery suite, the lights, every possible thing on the mobile unit is sponsored. We thank these people endlessly through our newsletters and through social media. Makes them really, really happy to be part of the Neuter scooter. So like all of you, we do this for the animals and for the people who love their pets. And we want to make this a much safer place for people and for pets. And Spay and Neuter, as you know, does that. So education is a really big part of Snap and the Neuter scooter. And without the education, people may not decide that it's the right thing to do. And so for those who may not believe that it's still the right thing to do, we offer these incentives. And believe it or not, these incentives really, truly help people who may be on the fence of whether they want to get their pets spayed or neutered. We do offer free pre-anesthetic exams, free injectable pain medication. A lot of these are required, but we advertise that it's free anyway. Free e-collars, free nail trims, flea treatment if needed. If there's worms present, we'll deworm them. The state of California requires rabies vaccines for all dogs, so we do provide those for free, and we also provide free one-year licenses for the variety of cities in San Diego. There are 25 cities and towns in San Diego County. So it's a very, very big place. And Snap is very proud to be the only mobile service provider here in San Diego County. Thank you very much, and I will send this off.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I am having such a great day being at the conference and learning so much good stuff. Thank you for all the wonderful nuggets of information. So a little bit about us. I'm the Executive Director of Pet Friendly Services of Indiana, and we were founded in 1977, and we were originally named Spay Neuter Services of Indiana. Our organization does cover the whole state, but there are only 3.5 of us, not including 3 core volunteers and our engaged board of directors. So our mission in a nutshell is to eliminate the euthanasia of healthy and treatable cats and dogs. And we do that by providing financial assistance, education, and advocacy. And I'll speak more about those throughout the presentation. We were instrumental in our state legislation that will require spay neuter before adoption, and that becomes effective July 1st of this year. So Pet Friendly Services, we changed our name to match our license plate. So we secured the plate in 2011. And boy, when we got the plate, we thought we have to sell 500 of these or we won't be able to keep it. We had to sell 500 and we didn't think we could. We sold 6,000 in the first year. We were all volunteer, and our demand for services went up, our income went up. It was just wonderful. It was a great growth spurt, not without its challenges, but very rewarding. So of course, the plate now is our top funding source. It brought in almost $700,000 during a pandemic. It's raised over $4 million so far for Indiana. And we're the #4 selling specialty plate in our state, which is pretty amazing because there are over 100 choices in Indiana. So we're behind Indiana University, Purdue University, and the long-standing environmental plate that's been available for many years. We'd like to be #1. We figure there are more people who love animals than people who went to IU or Purdue. And one of the great things about having the plate is people can opt in and give us the information, that their contact information, so we can follow up with them, thank them, and let them know what we are doing. We do receive $25 per plate. It's $40 to buy it, and the BMV uses 15 and we get 25. So far, we've funded nearly 170,000 surgeries, and we've done 57% of those in the last decade. Over the years, our average surgery cost has been just $49 per pet. In 2020, our average surgery cost is really $68. A lot of the clinics raised their rates in 2019, and we raised our vet rates in 2018, and then our $49 average, that goes way back to the 70s, so that's very weighted. But we are moving in the right direction. So a little bit about us. We're a financial assistance organization. So we follow the map laid out by Peter M.A.S.H. And if you're not aware of Peter M.A.S.H., he's amazing. He's written a couple of different books, and here is the link to Getting to Zero, which is this wonderful roadmap of how to stop pet overpopulation. And he's got a chapter on financial assistance programs, another chapter on community cats, and then he talks about spay delay, which is really a big cause of pet overpopulation. It's an easy read, it's very impactful, it's required reading in our organization. So in Peter's book, he talks about this pyramid that we've all seen. So this pyramid assumes that cats have litter after litter for their entire lives, when in fact research has shown that only 15% of cats live their entire life without being fixed, while the other 85% get fixed after one or more litters. So that ties into spay delay as the leading cause of shelter overpopulation and community cat overpopulation. And it certainly ties into United Spay Alliance's Fix by 5 campaign. And if I didn't mention, Peter M.A.S.H. is one of the board members for United Spay Alliance. And I'd just like to note that when we surveyed our participating vets to ask them when they do surgeries, a lot of them said 4 months and a lot said 6 months. So a 5-month target is a really good right down the middle compromise. So we run 3 main programs at our organization. We have one that gives free certificates to rescue groups and shelters. And then we have another one where we provide free certificates to community cat programs, and another one for limited pet owners. They pay $25, we pay the remainder. So we issue the certificates, and then our network vets perform surgeries and bill us. We launched the community cat program in 2014, and it was really interesting. At the time, we were giving 30 certificates instead of 25. And the rescue groups that had burned through their 10 were calling us and saying, hey, can we get more of these surgeries? But we don't want the cat surgery certificates. We want the regular ones, because they didn't have a community cat program. So we kind of lured them into starting a community cat program. We asked them some simple questions. You know, do you have at least one volunteer that would work on this project? Do you have a trap? And do you have any calls from a community member in need? And they all said yes to all 3, and many of them launched community cat programs. We went from 30 programs to more than 100 in just a few years. We also do some special programs for animals in harm's way. We allocate certificates. For example, there was a Tennessee breeder situation. I don't know if you guys saw that in the news. It was very horrific. 80 of the dogs came to Indiana, and we gave certificates to fix all 80 of those dogs. We launched a winter cat program, pledging $50,000 for groups that could safely trap, neuter, return during the winter months so that we could get a head start on kitten season. We fund projects in mobile home parks, underserved areas of the state, and hoarding situations. So I just wanted to give a shout out to rescue groups. They are just so instrumental in pulling animals from shelters and preventing intake. They are so cost effective because they're mostly volunteer. They're just everywhere. They pop up all the time, new ones, and they're just nimble and able to get the job done and save so many animals. So the rescue groups and shelters that receive our free spay neuter certificates, we ask them to help promote the pet-friendly plate. So we ask them to put this widget on their website and point it to petfriendlyplate.org. We ask them to share information in social media, in their newsletter, and we also have print materials when they're at events and they can distribute that material. We rely on them to do this because we don't want to spend money on marketing. We want to spend it on surgeries. We also ask them to share stories so we can report back to the motorists that buy the plate and they know how they are helping animals in Indiana. One of our main programs is the SNAP program. It seems like everybody has one of these. It's a $25 program. People are income qualified, and they can also be colony caretakers. We automated our system recently so they can apply online, upload the proof of income, and make their copay. And going back to Peter Marsh a little bit, he talks in chapter 6 of his book about the survey where people making $35,000 annual income of $35,000 had fixed 51% of their animals, where people with higher incomes had fixed 90% of their household, of their animals. So it's really important that we help limited income people, and many times they're in areas where the strays are, and they are adopting strays and feeding community cats, and so it's important that we help them get them fixed. So we do have a network of 130 vets. I believe if you look online and you pull up our vet list, you'll see maybe 125. We have vets that only want to help one organization, so they're not on the public list. We've got several of those, and that works. As long as we can get them fixed, we're happy to do that. So we've got our network of vets throughout Indiana and across state lines in Chicagoland, Cincinnati, Louisville. But we only fund Indiana residents and programs. And so our average reimbursement rate right now is $76. And when vets sign up, they can do as few or as many surgeries as they would like, depending on what fits their schedule. And they can sign up for any or all 3 of our programs. So if they want to work with SNAP clients, that's great. If they want to do community cats, that's even better. And if they want to do all 3, of course, that's what we want, is for them to do all 3. A few are cats only, some are community cats only. But we've got a nice, robust partnership across the state. We also partner with the clinics, and many of them have transport programs, and some of those transport programs are 20 counties. So we get a lot of reach that way by partnering with the clinics. And we are also currently partnering with a mobile vet, which is wonderful to help us get more cats fixed and to get into some areas that lack spay-neuter capacity. So some of our goals are to move Indiana to 0 kill, and we're defining that as a minimum 90% live release rate. We also want to help animals in the field, so community cats and outdoor dogs. To help cats, we recently launched our community cat guide, and you can find it at this link. And it's a guide for elected officials. Let me go back. So it's a guide for elected officials. And so I think we've seen this, I know we've seen it several times in Indiana where colony caretakers are feeding cats in the cover of darkness. They're trying to trap cats in the cover of darkness because it's been illegal in their area to feed or care for these cats. And so we had a case where a managed colony was going to be gathered up, and the city had gotten an estimate at $75 per cat to gather these cats up and remove them from a managed colony. And so, you know, this was in the northern part of the state. We're in the central part of the state, and we're thinking, what can we do? So we quickly put together this guide and sent it up to the TNR program, and they took it to they gave it to their elected officials, took it to their town council meeting, and the cats were deemed to be okay where they are. So the reason we wanted our own Indiana guide, we knew that there were, you know, guides from HSUS and some other national organizations, but we wanted our elected officials to know what was going on in Indiana. So when elected officials run for office, they all know each other. They run against each other, or they're Democrats and they go to the same meetings, or they're Republicans and they go to the same meetings, or they're mayors and they go to conferences and mayors' roundtables, and they rely on each other for information. So when tasked with a question like, what do we do with all of these cats? If we have mayors that can speak to this, and if we have community cat programs that can speak to their elected officials about the benefits, as we're seeing right here in Indiana, then that's really good for us. The guide also includes information from our animal control officers. It includes information on state legislation. And one of the things that was really interesting here in Indiana is that our state ag committee, the head of it, helped pass a law in 2014 to allow trap, neuter, return in mobile home parks. And when this passed, all of the state legislators meowed at the signing ceremony. So it was really interesting that they're getting some humor out of it, some awareness out of it. And we know if the head of the ag committee is in favor of doing nice things for cats, then other people here will know that the coast is clear and it'd be wonderful to help cats. We also do education and networking, and part of that was launching our conference in 2018. We made it really simple. We wanted everyone to be there. So it was a one-day event. We charged just $25, and we threw in everything but the kitchen table. So it included breakfast, lunch, an afternoon snack, some prizes. So our goal was to get everyone to come, and boy, they did. We pulled into the parking lot to set up, and they were already out there, 300 people, and many of them showed up an hour before the conference because they were so eager to network and start meeting other people from around the state, finding out what they can do to save more lives. It was really wonderful. And one of the things that we did, I think a lot of us have been to national conferences, and I had gone to one in Florida several years ago. And when I looked around, I found maybe 6 or 8 counterparts from Indiana, and they were all the leaders of our state. And I thought, well, there aren't enough people here from Indiana for one thing, and the people who really should be here are not here. And the other takeaway I had from the national conference is that as a really small organization, which we are, some of the information was just overwhelming. It was geared to big organizations, and we kind of came away, our little team did, feeling sort of deflated and overwhelmed. So we wanted to give our folks information that they could really use right away, and that would be custom to fit their organizations. One of the unexpected benefits is that these 2 individuals attended our conference, and in fact, Hannah is the president of the newly formed Hoosier Animal Law Officers, and she spoke at our conference. So this is Hannah Fisher, president, and Doug Stanford, the vice president. And after our conference, they started their own conference, and they invited some of our speakers. And so it was really great in Indiana, and I don't know about other states, but our animal control officers don't have a minimum standard of training. So HALO is working to correct that. And so by learning and working together, we can do more for animals, whether it be, animals that are going to be impacted by animal control officers or by spay neuter, what have you. And talking about expanding our network of friends, I just wanted to mention that the Animal Legal Defense Fund also has a conference. They held it in Louisville in 2018, so I was able to go for maybe a day and a half of the 3-day conference, but it was really interesting. There were prosecutors and judges, and they were discussing how to preserve evidence, procedures for criminal cases. Judges wanted to convict, but they didn't have enough evidence. Prosecutors might be grappling with unmet needs to bring a case forward. So it was really interesting to learn that the people who love animals aren't just the people that we interact with day to day. There's a whole nother group that we don't interact with very often, and the more that we get to know them and understand what their limitations are, what their desires are, the more we can work together to better animal welfare for all of us. I did check their website and didn't see the upcoming conference, I'm sure due to COVID, but there were a lot of learning opportunities online. But if they do come to anywhere near you and you're able to attend, please do, and please reach out to your prosecutors, judges, and your animal control officers to make them aware of this opportunity. A few of the other things we do, well, we've got some outreach and fundraising goals. So I guess when a lot of us started in animal welfare, you know, we started thinking that we just wish that everybody in our state or our community would be involved in animal welfare in some level. Like if you have a pet, let's be involved. So our goals are to increase funding every year so we can say yes every time that we are asked for assistance. We want every pet owner to give or volunteer at some capacity to animal welfare. We'd like to keep Indiana donations in our state. As we discussed earlier, large organizations haven't supported SN, spay neuter, to the extent that they did in the past. So it'd be great to keep our donations in state so we can put that money to work for our community. And then we would like to differentiate ourselves from shelters, and that our programs are way less expensive than sheltering. So our average cost for spay neuter in 2020 was $68, and we are addressing the root cause of overpopulation, which benefits everybody. So it benefits shelters, rescue groups, pet owners. So I wanted to give a few tips about working with elected officials. So we had a completely unscientific survey of our board, our volunteers, and our team members, and we asked who wants to save money and be popular. Everybody wants this. So especially elected officials. When we first met with them, we were kind of shocked that not all of them cared about the state of animal welfare, but if there were cost savings to be achieved, then they were way more interested in that. So we have something that they want. We have cost savings. We have results that voters embrace by addressing the root cause and keeping animals in place, such as community cats. So it's our job to make them aware of what we have. And just revisiting Peter Marsh in his book, there's a national survey from 1998, which stated that shelters spend an average of $176 for each animal they impound, and 39% found a new home at an average cost of $450 or more. Meanwhile, financial assistance programs that reduce intake and euthanasia operate at a cost of $50 to $60 per animal. So we've got cost savings, and these are $1998. Even though we are up to $68 per surgery now, we're still in the ballpark. So it's up to us to make elected officials aware of the life-saving programs that we run when we spay and neuter. So that's what I have today. Scarlett Camille is also on, and she's going to join us and kind of talk a little bit about our operations. Scarlett, are you there?
Hello. Yep, I'm here. So as Sherry mentioned previously, we have three main programs. We have the SNAP program for limited income individuals. We have the community cat program, and then we have a plate is for rescue groups and shelters to be able to come in. All of those processes are automated. So if a low limited income person would like to get a certificate, they can go to our website, they can upload their information and their proof of eligibility, and that will automatically go into our system to where we generate certificates for everyone once a week. Our community cat program and Pet Friendly Plate Program participants can go in, pull up their shelter or group from our website list, and then select how many certificates they would like to receive. And then those certificates also are mailed out weekly. So we used to have mountains and mountains and mountains of paperwork, but we don't anymore. Now that it's all automated, it runs pretty efficiently directly through our website. Anyway, everything, like I said, that we have done is now automated. We give out 10 certificates per year to rescue group and shelters. We give 25 to community cat program caretakers, and then limited income individuals can get as many as they need for the $25 copay. But that's kind of basically our operation. It's pretty slick and seamless, but we generated nearly 12,000 certificates last year for surgeries in 2020. So even though it was a different year with COVID and we had some problems getting people to the vets and vets being able to take people in for surgeries, we still were able to help a significant amount of people in the state get those surgeries that they needed.
Thank you for being here today, and anything you need from us, we're happy to share. A lot of this information is on our website at petfriendlyservices.org.
Before we open up to questions, I saw Bloomerang go by there. Can you share a little bit about Bloomerang?
Yes.
You want certainly. We actually started shopping around 4 or 5 years ago, looking for a database that could accommodate our special needs to produce our certificates and keep track of the certificates and the surgeries and things like that. And we looked at many different systems and finally settled on Bloomerang because it's entirely customizable, which is pretty amazing. A lot of different platforms will say that you can customize them, but then you have to pay tons and tons of money to do so. Whereas with Bloomerang, if we decide today that we want to add, say for instance, we decided a couple weeks ago that we want to do a legacy program so that people can contact us about being in their estates and wills, and we will track that in our system. So I was able to quickly go into Bloomerang in less than 5 minutes and add a field for our legacy benefactors so that we can track them. So with Bloomerang, everything that you need to do, you don't have to contact their programmers, you don't have to spend additional money. You have 3 different types of modules. You have the constituent module, which tracks all of your people. You have an interaction module, which tracks all of your anything you do with a person. If you send a person an email or you call them on the phone or any interaction you have with that person is tracked. Then they also have transactions where all of your donations, all of your donors, anything where there's money involved comes in. That will also link up to QuickBooks. And there's another, I can't remember the name of it, but there's another new accounting software that's out there. I think it's Zoho, if that's that it will integrate with seamlessly, so you can have it all together. But I've worked with multiple platforms in different capacities over the years, and I'm a huge Bloomerang fan.
Excellent, thank you. I use it for one of the organizations that I'm involved with, and I've actually talked to Steve Shad a couple times before. So I have a question with regards to the QR code that you said you have on the outside of the vehicle. That's for donations? Do you feel that was a worthwhile thing to put on the vehicle?
So far, we have had a few donate because we have that QR code specifically set to know if it's coming from the bus or from cards or from whatnot. So we've had a few, not enormous amounts, but it's really easy when people will say, "Oh, how can I donate?" I'll just point to it, and they go, "Oh, that's great." Some of them just walk away from there, but yeah, it has been used. So QR codes are definitely, you see them everywhere now. People are using them, at least here in California. All the restaurants are, menus are on QR codes, assistance is on QR codes. So we're now using the QR codes for donations, for applications. If someone wants to do an online application versus a phone call for their appointment, and also to follow us on social media. It links to all 3 of our social media pages.
That's great. I actually do have a question that is for the group in general. So I don't know if Karen and Leah or Audrey, if you guys are out there and you want to flip on your cameras quickly, I'd like to go around the room and ask questions about what type of insurance do you have to carry for your programs? So maybe we'll start, I will start, how about we'll go with Dorel first, alphabetically. We're going to go alphabetically. Sherry, do you have, I mean, you're kind of a different beast, so I'm not sure how you want to respond to that.
Right, we're an office-based organization, so I don't think we apply.
Okay, all right.
To what people would want.
Great. If I am going alphabetically, I guess I start with Audrey alphabetically. And so ask about insurance, and then we'll go around alphabetically around the room that way.
We carry, you know, the normal directors and officers insurance. We have general liability insurance. We have insurance on our van. We have insurance for volunteers, actually. A lot of organizations don't have that, and we've had it for quite a few, well, for several years. We've never had to use it, but that's the thing about insurance is that, you know, if you don't have to use it, that's okay. But it's nice to have it when you do have to use it. We have insurance, health insurance for our staff. Yeah, the auto insurance, the whole 9 yards.
Dorel?
Same. We have all of it. Directors, the volunteers are insured, the clients are insured, the property is insured. We name every location that we go to. We provide them a certificate of liability naming either them, their location, and or their business. And then workman's comp insurance, obviously. So yeah, all of it, and definitely the general liability and the auto.
Yes, exactly the same as both Audrey and Dorel.
Nothing different. Leah, anything unique and different on your end?
No, it's about the same. However, we are right now, my ED's researching more insurance and different types of insurance. We actually just had something happen where we are at risk for identity theft. We found out that our insurance company doesn't really cover that. They'll cover if someone sues us. They won't cover any protection for us before that. So just kind of like looking at some different things that we hadn't thought about before. So we are looking, she's been doing a lot of research and looking for maybe a different coverage and more coverage as far as that is concerned.
I guess, Audrey, if you could share more about, or whoever has insurance for volunteers, you know, is that a separate policy, or is it on the general insurance?
Ours is a separate policy, and to be honest with you, I can't, you know, I pay it once a year and I can't remember who it's with. I know that we went to a conference and there was another group out there that does it, and I think their policies are actually less expensive. I just haven't had the opportunity to research that yet, but there are a couple of places out there, and it is separate. When I talk with my insurance agent, they're like, you know, it's not in our bailiwick, and they send you elsewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's separate, and because we utilize a lot of volunteers outside for check-in. So also at any of the community events where there's lots of, you know, adoptions and people bringing their pets, we need to make sure that they're safe and they're protected.
Great. Okay. Oh, what was the cost for your latest Neuter scooter? And Have you ever done a remodel of your previous vehicles? And how practical is it going with a remodel route versus buying brand new?
That's a really great question, because when we were, so the first Neuter scooter, which we used for a full 18 years, the only types of things that we need to do with that was replace some of the equipment inside, like a new autoclave or a new LED surgery light. But it was kind of like an old kitchen. The kitchen, it gets used all the time. The counters get nicked. So that type of thing, cosmetically, it's not nearly as nice as the new one, but it's definitely still functional. I had talked about the state of California having all these extra laws. So one of them was in 2020, the CARB truck law passed, where all diesel engines built before 2010 are not allowed to drive in the state unless they become compliant, which is a $60,000 project. So that's still less than a brand new unit, but we were trying to decide, what would be the best thing. Thankfully, we had a very big funder step up and sponsor half of the cost of the new unit. So that made the choice very easy. So we had 1 year to match that and raise the funds to build the brand new unit, which cost, and again, this is taking the template and then customizing it. So with all the customization, moving switches, moving tables, moving compartments, moving everything, basically, the full cost was $290,000 for everything, including all the equipment inside, heated surgery tables, the 3 anesthetic machines I talked about, really big, strong tires, a very strong diesel engine to get up those hills, and the artwork and the awning and all of that great stuff. So $290,000 total. The other question was remodel. So we did not fully remodel the original Neuter scooter, but again, we just replaced equipment. So although that bus is not allowed to drive around, we have you can apply for daily movements. So we're just not moving as much, where the new Neuter scooter every day is driving somewhere else. The original Neuter scooter tends to park, and then we perform surgery, and then it can get a permit to do a day move until we can't do that anymore.
Got you. Can you share the manufacturer of the unit? And then I have a question of, how do you track maintenance with regards to the unit? Do you have, special protocols or, a schedule system that you use? Maintenance, at least from my perspective, love and care of your mobile clinic is the utmost of importance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so we have the generator is serviced every 200 hours. We keep track of everything. Google Docs is the greatest thing. You can share it with everyone involved. So the generator is serviced every 200 hours. The engine is serviced just like any other engine, oil changes, checking filters and all that kind of stuff. We have every month we have a quote service day, which is anything that needs to get done. We already know ahead of time that day of the first Monday of the month, the last Monday of every month is set aside for that type of stuff. Obviously, with our original unit, if something broke, you have to plan for it. We have a backup generator on a trailer. We don't use it very often, but we can just hook that trailer up to my truck and park it next to the original Neuter scooter, and then so we don't have to cancel clinics. We can just plug it in. So those kinds of things, we don't want our onboard generator to break. So we do service it every 200 hours, like I said, to prevent that kind of stuff, but things still happen that are unplanned. Hoses in your engine break. With this new Neuter scooter, we're hoping to go at least a couple of years without running into any problems, but we already have run into a few problems. There's what's called a hydraulic jack system, which levels your unit. So if you remember my presentation, if the dogs weren't barking at the time, you drop your jacks, and when you find a nice level space, you drop the hydraulic jacks and create a level surface for your the surgeons need a level surface so they don't get seasick, for one. Your autoclave and your anesthetic machines need to run on a level surface, or else they won't function properly. So those types of parts of the unit need to be maintained as well. Did I answer your question? Yes, and then everything is documented. So every time you move, every time you dump and fill, meaning because you're mobile and you don't have utilities, you need to stop in between. We can run 4 full clinics, and then we'll need to refuel. The generator runs off the fuel that also runs the engine to get us where we need to go. So you have to refuel. You need to dump your gray and black water tanks, which is your toilet and your sinks. And you need to empty those, and then you need to fill your fresh water tank. And your fresh water tank is what the techs use for cleaning, rinsing the wet table down, and also flushing the toilet or just washing hands, that type of thing. The distilled water is used in the autoclave, so that doesn't pull water from our tank. But all that's documented every time it's dumped and filled, as well as the servicing of the engine and the generator, checking the tires, checking the lights, checking all that stuff.
And who manufactured your most recent unit?
LaBoit out of Ohio. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Catmobiles, 2 Catmobiles I've done are LaBoits also.
I know. I wondered. I saw there, and I'm like, oh, those look like LaBoit trucks, Freightliners.
Yep. So
our original Neuter scooter is a Matthews. It's a Thomas bus. So Thomas makes school buses, and Matthews does the design of the inside. So that's one of the other things, considering a mobile unit. I like the buses also. I really like our original Neuter scooter, which is that Matthews Thomas bus, but the newer ones do require a special license. The Freightliners, which is LaBoit, does not require a special license. So although your driver needs to know how to drive a large vehicle, they don't necessarily need to carry that Class B or the passenger license. But it's good to have that, but it's not required.
For the folks that had the volunteer insurance, do you have any recommendations on companies that folks should look at for, and also you can just put your hands up. Does everybody have a volunteer waiver form that they use? So that answers that question. Any specific companies for volunteer insurance that folks should look at? Not at this time. All right. Well,
we've Nonprofit Alliance, and they do the blank. They work with other nonprofits together to find a good price, so you're not doing it on your own.
Question for Cherry. In regards to, oh no, this is Dorel. Sorry. Oh no. It is back to it's in regards to mobile Neuter scooters. Are there plans for something like that in Indiana?
No, not from our organization, but as I mentioned during the presentation, we are partnering with the public vet, and it's a mobile unit. And so they do cats at $80 for owned cats and $40 for community cats. And we're providing financial assistance. So if people come in and they can't afford the 80 or the 40, that we are covering the cost to make sure animals get fixed. Hopefully we can expand our partnerships with more mobile vets. If any more come to Indiana, that would be wonderful. So if that happens, just let us know. But yeah, it sounds like a lot of work, and we don't want to do all that. Thank you, Doral, for
scaring you away.
It's cool though, because it looks great in a parade. I don't know if you've ever had your Neuter scooter in a parade, but we have.
Yes, it's very fun. Everyone loves it. The crowd loves it. Yeah. Especially if you have volunteers that dress up like dancing dogs and cats.
We do have another mobile clinic question. What's the maintenance cost per year for mobile units?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I don't think I can give you an answer off the top of my head, but I can tell you as the years go by, it gets more and more.
So for all of you today, part of the panel, sort of in closing question, what are, looking ahead into 2021, what are your greatest challenges up ahead? You know, what are the things that have you up at night? And we'll go backwards. We'll go with Leah, and we'll work the other way on the alphabet this time.
Well, as I'm sure everyone is, we're faced with more cats than ever. So we are just working on opening more capacity to be able to use our clinic more often, so that we can get through kind of this backlog of community cats and be able to open our doors for other types of cats. And I anticipate that happening in the spring as our show rates for ferals start to go down because of breeding season. We'll be able to start our pet cats program again. I'm sure this is the way it is across the country, but people are having 2 and 3 month wait times to get into their private practices for spay neuter at this time, even if they can't afford it. So after our shutdown last year during the spring, we anticipate more kittens than ever this year. We work with our Shelter Alliance of Portland to work with them on with trying to keep their numbers down. Up until this year, our efforts were keeping their numbers down pretty well. So we're going to work with them and see what their initiatives are as well. And then I'd also like to offer more medical services, as that's also been very hard to find. So those are some of the things that we're looking to expand on.
Karen?
As this is our first year in the new community complex, I'm mostly trying to make sure that everything is as efficient and as effective as possible. Last year was not a year to compare to anything to, so I'm hoping that we are able to meet our quantity goals. Our fundraising stays strong and sustainable, and other than that, we're always looking for opportunities to expand services to better serve the rural communities outside of our metropolitan area.
My turn?
Yep.
So it keeps me up at night. What's interesting is, like, I think back, you know, when we first started this, education was so hard, like trying to convince people that they were doing the right thing by spaying and neutering their pets, where now it seems like I don't need to spend nearly as much time in education. We still do, of course, with the younger generation, but with pet owners, we get about 90 calls every day, and we're only scheduling about 7% of our calls to 10% of our callers. Not, you know, some may not qualify, say, you know, but the need is so great. So what keeps me up at night is that, you know, we're referring so many people, and I'm so thankful that we have other organizations that we can refer to, but not all of them can get to the referrals. And so what keeps me up at night is that we need more. We need to be in right there more. So what keeps me up at night is trying to raise another mobile clinic ASAP to keep up with the demand. And that's dogs, cats, and rabbits too. Rabbits are now, they have their own line item in I think California, definitely in San Diego, in the M.A.S.H fund statistics. So it used to be dogs, cats, and others. Now it's dogs, cats, rabbits, and others. So rabbits are now finally recognized as domestic animals. So that's exciting. And we're fixing them.
I would say the vet shortage. So we've got a network of vets, but still we've got a backlog where people can't get in, and we've had to extend our certificates to have a longer expiration date. And we've had vets that have passed away and nobody buys their practices because there's no vet in that area. We have a vet in one county in southern Indiana, and she covers the entire county. She's both a small animal vet and a large animal vet. So she'll be at the practice Monday and Tuesday, and then out at farms the rest of the week. So just having more vets graduate would be wonderful. And going into a pandemic with the vet shortage, it's just been terrible for all of us with these cats. And we had hoped to like someday get to bunnies, and we're just not going to get there yet because we've got to get cats and dogs under control before we can take that next step.
What keeps me up at night is figuring out where to and how to get a new facility. Currently, we have our own office, but for spay and neuter, we kind of move every weekend. We move all of our stuff, and then we move it all back, and then we move it all over there, and we move it all back. And my whole staff is tired of moving. So we're trying to get the scenario planning is to be able to get a space of our own where parking isn't an issue, where we have enough space that we can grow into it, that we can do more if we need to, and that we actually have, we had a bequest, and so we have money to do that. It's to do most of it. It's finding the right space and making sure we're not making an error in that expenditure, because we're booking out a month ahead, and really a high volume spay neuter clinic, I always say you need to be able to do it pretty quickly. And we just don't have the capacity because we're only working, 2 days a week in a smaller facility, and we need more. So that.
So I say, who is tired of schlepping stuff around? For those of us who have done the mobile, the M.A.S.H style clinics and all the Tupperware, we're in charge of all those Tupperware sales for the big containers where we're and the tables and the packing the van and the unpack. I mean, I swear there's so much schlepping in this business, and it does get tiring after a while. That's why you get a mobile spay neuter clinic and you just put it in there and you drive it where it needs to go, but you don't have to unpack as much. You do have to unpack
a little bit,
but it's not as much. So excellent. Well, everybody, I want to thank you so much. This was my first super panel, so thank you for being part of it, and I think it worked out great. So thank you again. And